Hello there. Welcome to the Glow Up Method. The Glow Up Method is the place for you to go so we can talk all things life transformation, personal development, self-care, self-love, worthiness, all in this pursuit to live a life that makes you proud. Hello, my name is Natasha, and I am so honored and blessed to be your host today. So, oh my gosh, I am just so delighted. I have spent this morning doing a new class that I have never done before. Totally took me out of my element, made me feel very strong and powerful. And a little bit sore. But it was a different vibe. It was a different energy. There were different people around me, and I loved embracing and seeing a side in a class where people were really thriving doing something I don't usually particularly like. And so what it reminded me is at the end of the day, we are all people. We all have our own preferences. We all have our things that spark joy, and we have things that make us feel comfortable, and we have things that make us feel uncomfortable. And, I was born in San Francisco, California. If you haven't been, my goodness, we've been through a lot of changes over the years. It's one of those controversial kind of cities, that I would hear about when I would travel. As a person, it has obviously a stigma, perception of its own. But I believe that everybody should experience something before you pass judgment. And I know biases are born in us. Like we, learn, from our families and our friends. And I say all this to say, I feel so fortunate and blessed to have had the experience to be born in this melting pot of beauty called San Francisco. And I no longer live there. I lived there for a little while when I was a kid. My grandmother lived there. It's a place I frequent very often, but I've basically been a suburbia girl for most of my life. And I feel really lucky because there are so many diverse people here, so many people that come in with their own cultures and wisdoms and beliefs that it has really elevated and opened my mind to all the possibilities out there. And I just think it's a beautiful thing. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we look like. I say that all the time here. I talk about my weight loss journey. I've had significant weight loss. I've shared with you, I've lost over, let's say 120 pounds, 130, 140. I don't know what I weigh. So I'm going to today be like 120 because I'm like, I have been, enjoying my food lately. I am going to be doing a procedure that takes away this excess skin. I don't know if you guys can see it here, but like the leggings do justice. Hi, that's a cute view. But I mean, this is, I'm not doing anything with this, but this here, people, this is all, I say this is my gun. This is my fun. It is the scars, the battle wounds of having been 300 pounds for the majority of my life, or 200 plus, 250 plus, 260 plus, way up there plus for the majority of my life. And the skin here, there's a lot, it's excessive. And I do believe it does contribute to my back. It's heavy and it's uncomfortable. It's something I have to clean and take care of and manhandle the skin around to get in all the crevices. And I have this opportunity to get it removed. And it's not like I'm going to a plastic surgeon or anything. I'm going to a surgeon. So it may not look like a, swimsuit magazine model. And some people are like, oh, but you'll have a scar. And I'm like, yeah. And only a select few people see my stomach bare, right? Everybody in the world sees what I look like in my pants, right? Everybody in the world sees what I look like in a dress. But that isn't the whole thing of it. It's so easy to judge somebody by their looks. I have had that happen. Have you ever experienced discrimination based on something? The fact that you were a woman, the fact that you were overweight, the fact that perhaps you were underdressed or overdressed. We've all at some point in time had to sit with somebody else's facial opinion or verbal opinion of who we were. And that leaves scars. That hurts us. And until we're in a place that I'm confident enough to be like, I am me. And no matter how many workouts I've done, no matter how many things, no matter the fact that I know that this is skin and somebody else may not understand me or know my journey. I had met this person recently and I was in my leggings and this is my attire until I hit my steps. Once I hit my steps, it's time to get out of the business clothes, out of my work clothes, my workout clothes, and I can put whatever I want. But if I'm putting on a dress, I'm then putting on shoes that go with it, which means I'm not getting my steps. And so for me, I put on the same outfit. I do a different colored tank top and I do different pants. I wash them every day. Not them every day, but I wear one pair, sometimes two if I'm that sweaty, or maybe even three. And then I, change them out, whatever. Anyway, so it's typically black pants because it hides the belly a little bit more. And it makes me feel most comfortable. I've put on color ones, and especially like I do these alternations. And when I know I'm not going to the gym, I'm putting on the crazy colored ones. I'm just not a big colored bottom kind of girl, but I do like colored tops now. Thanks to my friend at the gym who was like, girl, your personality is too big to always be in black. What is all this black? I want to see you in color. She really encouraged me and allowed me to see things in a different perspective, that I had outgrown my head to toe black. But I still will rock it every once in a while. But anyways, all I'm saying here is the way we look is important, right? It's part of who we are. Like I said, I met somebody, and when they looked at me, they first looked at me in the eyes and then they looked straight at my stomach. And for a minute, I felt like, oh my gosh, did this person really just look at my stomach like that? And, and then it went, quickly back. And I was like, is it that unnoticeable? I know like I said, I have been enjoying some treats or 2 or 3 a day. I have been, self-professed indulging on some of my favorite things. I'm aware. I am still, balancing it out with my workouts and things like that. And I'm in a place where I feel comfortable with my choices. I know that I'm not slipping into the dark side and the next thing I'm going to be this big. It's just, I'm embracing this time of life, this time of where I am. And that involves eating some really good food. So maybe the stomach was popping a little more than usual. I don't know. But the fact that this person looked at my stomach, I felt uncomfortable. I felt a little bit judged. And part of me was like, because I'm such a curious person now, I wanted to say like, if I knew this person better, I would be like, what are you thinking? Like, not that meant I was going to change anything. It's just maybe he was thinking something positive. Maybe he was thinking this, and I was automatically assuming this person was judging me negatively on my stomach because that is my bias. That is, when people would look at me, they would just see this overweight woman. I would often get, oh, you have such a pretty face, or you have pretty hair, or you have pretty eyes, or, you would be so much prettier if you would just lose weight. So for me, the appearance for so many years was the why. And definitely the why not. I didn't do anything because the appearance, the look wasn't enough. Like for me, so what? Who cares? I mean, of course I want to be beautiful. Of course I want, those things, but that's all up for perception. I mean, I can put myself in the prettiest hair and the prettiest makeup and the prettiest dress and still be hideous to somebody. And I feel like, more importantly, the people that I find the most beautiful, those are the ones that are shining from the inside out, the ones that are just radiating their joy. I find that extremely attractive. I find that energy is what I'm drawn to somebody. It's not about the way they look. It's not about, the amount of muscles they have on their arm. It's who they are. And so for me, when I'm judging somebody based on their looks, I have to remind myself, I don't want to be judged on how does that make me feel? Like I feel cruddy when he did that. And I have to have this whole conversation like, no, you're not being judged, no, you're assuming it's negative. Maybe he knows your story and is like, dang, she's made great progress. Maybe he did see me before and recognizes seeing me and I don't recognize seeing him. So there's so many things that could go on. And so to base everything on appearance is just very unfair, unfortunate. It's not necessary. So I feel very blessed and lucky to live in a community that is so richly diverse. And I really do love that we are more of an inclusive, more curious time of life than when I was a young kid. I love learning about new cultures, and I love especially enjoying new cuisines. I yesterday got, oh my gosh, I have here. So I have been hearing all about these TikTok things, and I love my sweets, but I got this Dubai Bar pistachio kanafe. I believe that's how it's pronounced. And I was so curious about this for so long. This is by a local chocolatier, Hannah's Chocolates, here in Pleasanton, California. But this is handmade. It takes days. It's got this lovely pistachio cream inside and this crunch. And I find it fascinating. Now, at $35 a bar of chocolate, I'm like, I hope I like this, but I also hope I don't. So it is delicious. You can taste like part of why I love my patisserie, Simone's Patisserie. Like, you taste the butter. You're like, yeah, we didn't go El Cheapo. We didn't do margarine. Like, we didn't skip on the, like, you're going to indulge. This is an indulgence, and it's delicious. Like, I totally enjoy it, but I love learning and experiencing a new culture. I guess the kanafe is like phyllo dough, and how many hours they were explaining goes into making one bar. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So I say all this to say, I love learning, and I love people being vulnerable and sharing their stories. And part of their stories, or part of their heritage, is their food or is their religious acts. I have so many people that, one of my sons is very good friends with somebody who practices Ramadan. And, one day my son, in solidarity, did with him. And I was like, well, I can do it. And they're like, but you can't have water, Mom. And I was like, oh, I'm out. I need my water. I can't function. I mean, I could, but I choose to not function without my water. So I was like, yeah, no, it's probably not best for me. But I appreciate and honor and respect that people do. This friend is teaching him so many things. They go to like these different halal restaurants. So my son's exploring these new cuisines. He's learning about what it means and why they choose this. So I think it's just a beautiful place and a beautiful time in the world where there is that curiosity. And I know that someday down the line, we will be, everything is going to be combined at some point. We're going to all learn and things, but I think that these differences are what make us so uniquely special. And so I really want you to share who you are with the world, because you do have this unique perspective. You have unique biases, you have unique stories and experiences that you had ingrained in you, and then sometimes you choose to lean into them as you get older, and sometimes you choose to grow out of them and grow into somebody who's different, right? So I say all this to say there's so many kind people, and at the end of it all, we are all just people. We are just human beings being human. Life's all the time. There are no guarantees. There are no promises. And I do believe that there is this greater power, this source, this energy beyond us that attracts us and repels us. And I believe that this energy is conspiring with you. And I know that sometimes that we get in places, and let me tell you, I've had a million times in my life where I could say, why me? And I've probably had thousands of times where I did say, why me? Why my kid? Why this? But what I've learned is, why am I experiencing this? What is it trying to teach me? These are the important questions. It's fine to ask questions. Like, it's fine to have curiosity. It's fine to do those things. There's nothing wrong with it. It's fine to encounter somebody who chooses to not eat and fast during Ramadan. And it's also fine to ask them, can you tell me a little bit? I find this curious. I'm curious about it. Let's have the conversations and see that at the end of the day, we bleed just like one another. We are all people, and we love the people in our life, and we like people in our life, and sometimes we don't like people in our life and we choose to not be around them. We all have our stories and our reasons why we choose to do things. And so if we have this we come into situations with this curiosity, it is such this beautiful platform for growth. It's this beautiful platform to end the generational curses where we were separated, and that we can come together. And maybe we're not going to always agree. Like, maybe your politics are different than somebody else's politics, and maybe your beliefs on a certain topic is vastly different. But it doesn't mean that we can't agree to disagree and say, hey, I don't necessarily agree, but I totally respect that your point of view. And I'm not trying to sway you and say my way is right or your way is wrong. I'm trying to just say, this is how I feel. And we leave it at that. And I understand and hear that's how you feel. And so it's really important to be able to have these conversations and then think about them. And like I said, I feel very blessed and lucky to live in this time of life where curiosity is a superpower, where you're curious with other people, you're curious with yourself, you're trying different things, you're working and practicing on different things. Remember, we do not say try on here. And so today I'm going to leave you with this. My daughter and I were talking, and she said, I was just sharing the story, Mom, how when we were little, you had printed out this paper and it said 100 different ways that you can show acts of kindness. And sometimes people have monetary resources, but sometimes you don't. Like, you're a kid, right? And you're like, hey, Mom, I want to donate to this cause. Can I have $5, right? So sometimes human kindness looks very different, right? It's not just a check. It's not just money or a Venmo or whatever it is. Sometimes it's doing something, saying something kind. The premise of the Glow Up Method here is to not only be that light and kindness to yourself, but to start doing it so much so that you have this extra kindness, that you have the ability to share it with others. Now, for so long in my life, I had no problem sharing kindness with other people while I was neglecting myself on the other side. So learning how to find balance with that and understand that I need to be cared for by myself too makes me a better carer for other people. And it is a place where I'm not acting in this deficit where it feels like it's a job or a chore to wish somebody kindness or compliment them, or to take a few minutes of my day to write a letter into somebody. And I think my most favorite acts of kindness are actually the ones that nobody knows, that nobody, there's no recognition, there's no plaque, there's no, oh, she did this. It's just, I know what I did. And perhaps the recipient will never know who I am, or perhaps they do see something. So I will share at this moment, and as far as acts of kindness, one of my daughter's favorite moments and one of my most prideful moments of my daughter was, she was at Stanford for a summer medical program, and they got a little stipend card for them to eat. And she was in the hospital, the same hospital, her just, year before, not much longer before, her brother had brain surgery. And she remembers what it felt like to be there as the sibling of a patient. And she saw this family, and they were in the cafeteria, and they were pulling things and then putting it back on the shelf. And you saw the parents counting out their change. And she watched and she saw, and she looked at her card, and she looked at the food that she was about to eat. And she said, no, I didn't want to do this. So she put back her food, and she went to the family and said, whatever you want, and swiped it on her card. It took her entire day's stipend. But she said, I've never felt more grateful in that moment. I never felt like, just seeing their faces change and knowing that in this moment that they were cared for beyond, whoever they were there for, whatever it was, that somebody cared, somebody saw them. And so I'm so proud of her for that. So I'm going to ask you today, what can you do today to do something kind for somebody else? Now, it doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It can be anything simple. It can be a grand gesture, no problem, but do something kind for somebody. Hold open a door, give them a compliment, maybe donate to a cause. Anything you can do, you are sending out ripples. And And yes, the recipient benefits, but you do too. And that's not why we're doing it, but it's this beautiful circle of positive, happy, kind energy. So I say all this to say, please go out there today, give yourself, where are you? Yourself a huge smile. Because you know what? You might be the only smile you see today. And then I'd love for you to give yourself a compliment. Today, I'm going to give myself a compliment for trying something new, and not only trying a new class and doing this new type of workout that I was not accustomed to. I gave it my all. The things that I could do and I could do well, I was in it. I'm going to feel it tomorrow and I'm going to feel it the next day, but I gave it my all. And then also, please go out there and give somebody else a compliment, give them a smile, and just watch how they glow up. So thank you. Bye.